So far, my Ben 10 videos have been very negative. I didn't like the OG series, I didn't like the Secret of the Omnitrix movie, I didn't like season 1 of Alien Force. So, what am I gonna like? Am I just a grumpy Gus? I mean, yeah, I am, but I've got some good news for all of you Big Ben lovers out there in the crowd. Unlike Alien Force's first season, which had one episode I really enjoyed, season 2 has a number of episodes that I find to be pretty dang good. That being the case, this video is going to be a little celebration of Ben 10 and the things that I enjoyed in this season. Instead of going in order though, I'm just going to discuss the episodes in the order that I feel makes the most sense. Let's...
Hey!
What is it, Ben?
Do you know this video's sponsored?
Wait, Ben, you accepted a sponsorship?
Sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh, for the love of...
It's one of the greatest things to ever happen, dweeb. It's even better than Sumo Slammers.
Wait, doesn't Raid have loot boxes?
Yeah?
And you're 10 years old, right?
So?
Well, I don't know. Are you sure you should be playing?
Shut it, Fossil. What matters is that Raid's got a ton of champions. Over 600 now. Do you want to know who my favorite faction is?
Ben, I don't think
High
that...
Elves. They come from Aravia, which survived even after the Lizardman Empire was destroyed, and they teamed up with humans to form new civilizations, but then Siroth, the Lord of...
I don't know what any of these words mean.
Well, dweeb, you should at least know about Jingle Hunter, one of my favorite champions. He's got a radical arena speed aura that sometimes even totally freezes the enemy.
Jingle Hunter? Seriously?
Whatever, even a freakazoid like you can't miss Forge past Season 3, which has all these awesome rewards. There's even a limited edition artifact set.
What's an artifact set?
Then there's Madame Ceres' new skin, which takes a cool character and only makes them cooler.
Who's Madame Ceres?
You know what's even better though? Death Knight is becoming a legendary champion! Yes! Yes!
Who's Death Knight, Ben?
You don't know Death Knight?
No. Should I?
Well, you will soon enough, nerd. All you gotta do is click my link in the description or scan my QR code, and you'll get unique bonuses worth $30. All this treasure will be waiting for you there in Raid Shadow Legends.
Let's start with Season 2's 7th episode. Here, Ben's parents finally learn that he's an alien hero. Of course, since they want their son to stay safe, they begin their attempts to stifle him and stop him from going hero mode. Immediately, I like this conflict. It forces Ben into a position where he has to make a personal decision. Does he disobey his parents, potentially wreak havoc on his family, or does he accept their rules while he simply sits back and lets bad things happen? I'm usually a big fan of these conflicts where a hero needs to choose between something in their personal life and something that will benefit the wider world. It feels like such a natural way to test these hero characters to see whether their ideals will hold up under stress and strain. However, that isn't all that unique, even if it's enjoyable. So the thing that really makes me enjoy this episode is his parents. They are something special. They're absolutely ridiculous. The voice acting, the dialogue, I love it. The writers lean into the absurdity of someone's kid transforming into aliens and fighting baddies, not by having the parents act shocked about it, but by having them act like they just caught their son sneaking out to meet with friends at midnight.
Carl, look at his eye! I got in a little fight. It's no big deal. There was this jerk at school and... Then? Are you sure it was a kid at school? And not a giant alien creature?
Benjamin Tennyson, you are grounded.
Up the stairs, young man.
Ben, are you hanging out with a bad crowd?
What? No. Are they telling you it's cool to sneak out, turn into aliens, lie to your parents?
The way they try to treat this situation so typically is inherently funny to me because it's just absurd. They shouldn't be acting this way. They should be way more surprised and shocked and even maybe horrified. But really, all things considered, they take it pretty well and way too normally. I think that's a pretty funny joke. I also love how Ben's own feelings play into this craziness, with how Gwen gets upset that Ben ratted her out, basically questioning how he could go up against Vilgax, but here he caves so quickly, and he says,
Vilgax never gave me the mom look.
In these moments, even if Ben is a superhero, he's also just a teenager, and one who's clearly uncomfortable disappointing or disobeying his parents. And that also comes through with his somewhat cloying but ultimately sweet speech about all the things his parents have taught him, and how it's because of those lessons that he needs to go out and fight. From here, his parents continue to be great. They quickly turn around, trust their son, and even go to help him fight.
You would have found a way to win even if your father hadn't shot the giant alien with the space bazooka.
Honestly, his parents alone make this episode worth the watch for me. Now, there is a big difference between the original series' best episodes and this one. After all, with those episodes, I could dive into some big boy themes and lessons, or I'd gush about how creative a conflict was. Here, though, that's not really the case. I guess the lesson is that Ben needs to trust his own judgment when it comes to heroing, and that he can't be held back by his parents even if he loves them. There's also a bit about his parents opening up to him and accepting that they were wrong, but those lessons really didn't feel like the focus to me. They felt more incidental, a simple byproduct of choosing this conflict. The real reason I enjoy this episode is simply because it's funny. It got me laughing at multiple points. I enjoyed the flippant way it treated a conflict that could have potentially been really serious. All in all, between this and Dr. Paradox, despite the fact that people told me that this show was better because it was more serious or something, I think I actually tend to prefer it when it's leaning into its absurdity rather than attempting to be that serious thing that I was told it was. And season 2's 4th episode stands as further proof of that. This time, Big Cheel starts taking control of Ben's body. Of course, this is reminiscent of Ghost Freak, and it gets everyone feeling a bit nervous. However, Ben has trouble getting Kevin to pay attention to his issues because he and Gwen are focused on their upcoming dance. In the end, though, it's revealed that Big Cheel was really just making a nest of sorts for her offspring, and the episode ends with the babies flying away, as well as Kevin and Gwen sharing a romantic moment. Now, this episode it's weird. I could easily see myself feeling disappointed with the end reveal, too. I mean, isn't this a bit anticlimactic? I thought we were gonna get into a fight or something. But honestly, I don't care. I kinda like the way it plays with our expectations and gives us this very different outcome. But more importantly, much like the last episode, this one is just funny. This whole thing feels like one big, ridiculous punchline stretched out for 20 minutes, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, when they reveal that Ben was acting motherly the whole time because he was technically giving birth or whatever, what on earth? My man's got pickle cravings, and he's tying Kevin's ties. It's so wonderfully stupid in just the right way. And Julie's line,
I think you made a great mommy.
who thought of this? How did this make it through the cutting room floor and become one of this season's 13 episodes? I mean that in a good way too. I love it. It's funny. Then there's the Kevin-Gwen dynamic. This episode helped me buy into their dynamic a lot more. Kevin is clearly nervous that he won't fit in at the dance, that his time as a criminal makes him unsuited for Gwen. Well, Gwen clearly doesn't care. That bit of friction between them, though, it helped me buy into this relationship because these are the types of problems I would expect to see a reformed Kevin deal with. It makes his change of heart feel less like a retcon and more like an actual step in his journey as a character. Next up, we've got season 2, episode 3. Now, this one isn't quite as wacky as the Ben becomes a mom for one episode plot, but it's similarly a ton of fun. We begin with a mystery of sorts, with a Ben lookalike running around trying to find the real Ben. Since this guy can also turn into aliens, this causes some trouble, and now the gang needs to stop this bad Ben. On a basic level, I really like the pace of this episode. It's nice and quick, moving from one scene to the next with a fairly fast pace. It also helps that this contains one of the best, most creative fights in the whole show, with the two Bens going at each other. The use of music here is pretty dang strong too, accentuating the action well. However, the real star of the show is the bad Ben, who is really named Albedo. Albedo was one of Azimuth's assistants who worked with him on the Omnitrix, but he got in trouble for trying to use it for selfish means or something. Honestly, I don't really care about the details. What I care about is that Albedo is hilarious. What they did with this guy is, oh man, I love his pure disgust with his human body, how much this guy hates being trapped as another Ben.
I am stuck in a sticky, sweaty, noisy, hungry, hairy, smelly teenage human body, constantly craving chili fries and scratching myself in places I suspect are inappropriate.
The writers also strike a great level of goofiness with him, where he's incredibly unconvincing when it comes to acting as Ben.
It is I, Ben Tennyson. Transport me, Ben 10, to my domicile. There are grave matters there of a personal nature to which I, Ben 10, must attend.
Then his obsession with chili fries. He loves them, but he hates that he loves them.
You disgust me. You, this miasma you call food, its foul-smelling, oily digestive preparation, everything human reeks.
And finally, his last moment in the episode, where he tilts his head back and screams in pure desperation.
Bring me chili fries!
Probably my favorite villain in this entire series so far, including the OG series. I mean, he might not quite beat out Kevin in some of his best episodes, but it's pretty close, and I actually liked Kevin quite a lot. So Albedo, he's a cool guy. I like him. So far though, I've enjoyed all these episodes for the same reason. Even if I appreciate other stuff about them, the most important thing is that they're funny. However, Alien Force's second season isn't only good for the giggles, because it has a couple more serious episodes that are definitely worth a look. Let's start going through these with the season's 6th episode. Here, this spider monkey named Simeon appears, claiming to be a prince who needs to find this special object to prove his rule or something. Really, this is another case where the details don't matter that much. What matters is that Ben immediately wants to help this guy take it back. He quickly gains this sense of camaraderie with him, which stems from him feeling like he understands Simeon. After all, they both have loads of responsibility on their shoulders. Throughout this whole thing, Kevin and Gwen question how naive he's being. I mean, they really don't know anything about Simeon. However, Ben ignores their advice. He feels like he knows best, that his basic conceptions of doing the right thing without looking deeper is somehow noble. In the end, this culminates in this moment, where he's able to recognize that Simeon was playing him, working with the DNA aliens, and that he should have been more careful and observant. At first, some of you might expect me to be a bit annoyed with this. I mean, in that benighted episode in season 1, I didn't feel like Ben needed to learn the lesson he was learning, and it fell flat for me. Here though, honestly, I think this works quite a bit better. The new Ben is a big goody two-shoes, the type of guy who's always going to want to do the right thing, and that could make him very prone to these sorts of stupid slip-ups. It's nice to see him deal with one and come out the other end a better, stronger, more level-headed character. Basically, this conflict fits him well, and I find it believable. Honestly, this episode is one of the only ones that made me feel like I could understand the connection between this version of Ben and him as a kid. Until now, I still felt that they were pretty disconnected as far as their personalities were concerned, with the main excuse for them being the same simply being that a lot of time had passed. However, here, I think they leaned into child Ben's arrogance in a really interesting way. There, he would act out in ways that were clearly just selfish, and he would mistreat Gwen and Grandpa on occasion. Now, instead of that overconfidence simply vanishing, we learn that it's still here. He's too sure of his own ability to read other people, has such a big ego that he thinks his initial feeling of connection is enough to base a whole mission off of. I like that idea quite a lot, and it led to the first major character-focused conflict that I was able to properly appreciate in Alien Force. But I get the sense that the next serious episode I want to discuss is a fan favorite, the first episode of season 2. This time, Ben ends up getting stranded in the desert with one of the hybrids, one of those DNA alien guys, and he has to work together with him to get back home. Throughout their adventure together, they slowly grow closer, even though the hybrid initially really doesn't want anything to do with Ben. It's an incredibly simple arc, but it's a nice way to challenge this current version of Ben. How is he going to deal with someone who, no matter what he says, just doesn't want to accept him? Will his heroism hold up in the face of that? And it does. He keeps saving him, he keeps being a nice guy, he keeps trying to connect, no matter what the hybrid says, but throughout, it really doesn't seem to be getting through to him. Until at the very end. See, after they fought alongside each other and Ben's even saved his life and he's saved Ben's, they reach their portal back home, but the hybrid wants to stay behind. After growing to like Ben and help him, he feels impure, unclean. And with hybrids, when that happens to you, you can't go back. The only honorable thing left to do is commit yourself to exile. So in a weird way, because of Ben's kindness, this hybrid sentences himself to a terrible, lonely existence. On its own, this moment was really interesting to me. I didn't expect the show to take it this way at all. I thought by the end, the hybrid and Ben would be high-fiving, having a great old time together. That's not the case. And really, I respect it. It speaks to the idea that sometimes your own biases and pieces of discrimination can be so deeply embedded in you that denying them becomes like denying a piece of yourself. It's a pretty powerful message to thrust into this show, and all in all, I think they did a decent job of tackling it. It even had some nice bits of visual storytelling where the hybrid tells Ben to walk behind him the whole time, and then later, we find that they're walking side by side. Again, this is just another solid episode of Alien Force, and one that leaves me excited for where they'll go next. Overall, at least based on these episodes I chose to discuss today, I've got to say that Season 2 of Alien Force is a big improvement. It's easily the most I've enjoyed this series since the first season of the OG show. That being the case, I'm looking forward to diving deeper into the episodes I skipped and the episodes that pop up later in the season. But we'll have to see how that turns out next time when I wrap up my review of Alien Force's second season. For now, thanks for watching, subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time.